Hello, and welcome to Podiant XP for, where are we now? February 2020. 2021. Oh God, I'm still writing 2020 on my XPs. I hope you're doing well. As always, this is on Crowdcast if you're watching live, so there's like a mad delay. So try and think and anticipate what I might say several minutes into the future, and then we'll be in sync. But if you've got any problems, any questions, anything technical, whatever, pop a message in the chat, which is the right-hand side, that way, and I will get to it. So we'll run through some slides, we'll talk about some stuff. The idea behind XP, in fact, let's go straight to the slides, because that will explain everything. Everything will be explained in the slides. So let's do this, and then oops, I pressed play on the wrong thing. There we go. All right. So this session, this lab, is all about rewarding your most influential listeners by using a referral scheme. So this is about you having a podcast, wanting more listeners, because who doesn't, and figuring out a way that we can perhaps get some more listeners for our podcast, and also reward those who are helping us spread the word, spread the message. So that's the idea. So welcome. This is the sort of order of events. We'll have a little overview of what we're talking about, and then we'll deep dive into the actual sort of specifics, and then we'll have loads of time for questions this time. I'm not going to... I will gab on a little bit, but I'm not going to try and gab on too much. I want to give us plenty of time to discuss and figure out how we're faring. So my name is Mark Stedman. If you're new to me, it's a strange. I was watching a sitcom yesterday, and the chap opened, one of the chaps opened by saying, I think, "Welcome to me." But anyway, my name is Mark. I run the podcast hosting company Podiant. We don't just do hosting anymore. This is the thing. We do all sorts of stuff. Hosting, distribution, analytics, production, and coaching to help you make better use of your podcast, to help you enjoy the process more, get more out of podcasting, and help you use your voice to tell compelling stories. I also have a number of podcasts, List Envy, Beware of the Leopard, which is a Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy related, Platform, which is all about the story of my company, and Thread, which hasn't had a new episode in since lockdown, which is a shame, but I dearly love the podcast. And Podiant itself, we produce podcasts for authors, business owners, and thought leaders, and people of that stripe. My mission, put simply, is to protect and advance the oral tradition. I'm here to empower people who want to pick up a mic and make an impact using their voice. That's the idea. So Podiant XP is a set of monthly experiments. These are things that I lead, but I don't come with the answers. I come with the questions and our hypothesis, and then together we will figure out whether that hypothesis is right, and how it can be adjusted. And ultimately, we're building tests that we can run on our podcasts with our audiences, with our work. So we will ask a question about something that we can observe, and then we'll form a hypothesis on that, and then we'll test that by making one single trackable change to our workflow or to the content that we're making. And then we'll share our test results. Now, where are we going to share those results? Well, actually, I'll talk about that in a minute. But last month, in fact, this was in December, we had the first event, which encouraged podcasters to reflect on their past year of podcasting and think about the future. Pick a goal for 2021, start making a plan to build and grow the podcast. And so the idea was to build a game plan that we're going to work to, and some of the things that we do with these experiments are going to fit into that game plan, and some of them might be slightly different. But I wanted to encourage us all at the end of last year to start thinking about ways that we can grow and improve what we're doing. So this month is the first event of 2021, hopefully the first of 11. And we are going to test that single hypothesis, gather our intelligence, discuss our findings. And this is where we'll discuss them. This is Podiant Origins. It is a free, friendly, and invite-only community. So the idea here is there is a lot of snake oil. There is a lot of people with all sorts of different ideas, which is great, but different levels of knowledge and levels of advice and different motives. And the idea with Origins is I want to gather people together who have a sort of a like mind about the craft of what they're making and want to take it seriously and are committed to making great podcasts. That doesn't have to mean like making the next serial or whatever, but it just means, doing our best. So this is, it will be a place to discuss each of the experiments that we run. And if you are interested, there's at the moment a free training course in there. If you're actually new to podcasting or you're just getting started or you're unfamiliar with some of the technical aspects, then there's training that is available through that. And then if you want to get invited, I will drop you an email as you are watching this live stream. If you are here live or watched via Crowdcast, then you will be invited. So watch this space for that. So what I'm going to ask you to do is pop any questions that you've got related to what we're going to discuss in the chat. I will keep an eye on it over. I've got my two monitors, so I'm over here. So I will keep an eye on that. I can't, because of the way Keynote works, I can't watch the screen. I can't watch the chat and do the talky presentation-y bit at the same time. But we will have a break, and then there's places to just chat, but also places to ask questions. I missed that last time, so I will endeavour to go in and actually look for your questions, if that sounds like a deal. All right. So let us go. Oh, I've done it again. Got fat fingers. Right. To the presentation. So we are talking about affiliate programs. So let's have a quick rundown first of what a sort of traditional affiliate program might mean for, in sort of traditional business terms. So this is just talking in terms of, products and usually something that you sell. So you have something that is good that you want to sell. You want more people to buy the thing that you sell, and you want to ask people to recommend your product because, we'll get into some of the reasons why this is a favourable system. But the important bit is that you track the recommendations that people make, so you track where those recommendations come from, so that if a successful sale is made, you know who made that sale, and you can reward the person who brings in that sale. And that's the idea. It's usually on some sort of commission basis. So one of the biggest examples of this is Audible. Back when I started the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy podcast, I approached Audible and I said, we think we're going to be a great fit to be sponsored by you. How does it work? And it is basically an affiliate scheme that you apply for. And you get a special link, audiblepodcast.com/leopard, I think. It's a long time since we've done it. But yeah, you would get that special link, and then anyone who signs up for a free trial using that link, I think you've got something like $15 or something. So businesses like them because the best people to help sell things are those that already like the things that you're selling. It's fans are the best marketers in so many ways. And we trust our friends' recommendations. That's why we talk about word of mouth. It's such a big thing in podcasting because we trust the recommendations that our friends make, and then we buy from the people that we trust. Now, that buying might mean actually forking over money, but it might just mean, yes, I will sign up for this thing because I trust the recommendation. The risk is minimal, if not just minimized, because you're only paying commissions. You're not paying a sales staff to go out and do all this marketing. You're not even using social media or cost per click marketing. You're paying per conversion, which is great because it really does. It is that risk mitigation factor because you sort of can't lose. If affiliate marketing is the way that you run things. You sort of can't lose. And you choose the level of involvement that you want with each affiliate relationship. So with Audible, for example, they have a bit of a hoop that you have to jump through, but it's not much. You have to apply and be accepted by a human being. Whereas some other things, you can just rock up and get an affiliate code and start marketing using that code. But some companies probably want to have a stronger relationship with you to figure out, are our values aligned? Are they going to start saying things about our service that isn't true in order to get more people to sign up? But you, as the business, you choose that level of interaction, of relationship, really. And if the relationship does go bad, you can revoke that code and you can make it no longer work. So there is that option. I can't imagine that is something that comes up that often. Podcasters like them because there's no, like I said, there's no gatekeepers as such. You can go out and seek this yourself and you'll probably get it. No one's necessarily going to tell you don't have enough listeners. That's one of the things. It's about that risk thing, because it's no risk to the business that you're affiliating with. They don't need you to meet a certain download threshold, which is really advantageous. It gives you more freedom in how you advertise the product, usually, because you haven't got quite that tight-knit relationship. You're not getting a script from Squarespace that's telling you you've got to hit these points and you must say our slogan at the end, all that kind of stuff. There's usually no contract. You might have an agreement, but not necessarily an agreement that's, again, based on the number of downloads your episode has. And you usually get a link which can work on the web too, so it's not just a typing in an offer code, but you actually might get a full link that you can put in your show notes, which just makes it super easy. People can just tap the link in the show notes, there's nothing to type in, and there you go. And although the returns are usually smaller on a system like this, monetizing a podcast makes us feel good. That's kind of why I approached Audible back in the day, was because I wanted to feel that sense of, like this is high quality, good content. It's of value, and it sets a listener expectation as well that your podcast might grow and your advertising might move in other directions. You might start forming contracts with advertisers, but once you've used affiliates marketing to set that expectation, then that can be a useful precedent to set. And for some, and I think, if I'm honest, 2017 me, I think it did add a sort of an air of legitimacy, fake legitimacy, if such thing can exist and it's not an oxymoron. But if you want to feel like you are the kind of podcast that could theoretically make money, then that is something that you can do. And in fact, I haven't mentioned it here, but I run an affiliate marketing thing on platform because I was approached by the company in question, and I thought, actually that makes sense. I can I haven't put it into the literature of the Podiant service, but I mention it in the podcast, and we have got signups as a result. So these things do work. So this is a quick rundown. This is not an ad, but I just wanted to run down an example of an affiliate program. This is one that Podiant runs. So podcasters can choose an offer code which is based on their show name. So Leopard, for example, Beware of the Leopard, I might use the offer code Leopard, or in fact, actually, List Envy, which is the show that I'm running at the moment. So I will have List Envy as the promo code, and then listeners can go to pcast.link/listenvy, which is the sort of, that gets them through the sign-up process and applies the discount code. Or they can go through the Podiant website, they can browse and figure out if the service is right for them, and then once they sign up, they can use that code. I'm not actually sure if List Envy is a real code, by the way. I am just using it as an example. I can't remember if I don't think I set one up, but it's a good example. And then the new customer gets a 20% discount for 3 months on their subscription, and the podcaster gets a kickback. They get $15 for that sign up as a thank you for them signing up, and that gets paid into their PayPal account at the end of the month. And of course, terms and conditions apply. And I say that because it's important, that you set or that you have some kind of system in place. there aren't tons of terms for the system that I run, but the main one is that the customer that signs up needs to be with us for 3 months. So you don't get paid out unless they've been with us for 3 months. And if their account has ever gone in arrears, then that voids that particular discount code. And those are just the terms that customers with Podiant sign up for. And again, it is a system that works. And we'll get into some of the finer points and the caveats in a tick. So this is how we can use affiliate codes as podcasters. So this is now getting into how we might use affiliate codes as a way of encouraging our listeners to help spread the word about our podcast. So this is not about monetization. This is not about having an ad spot. This is about how we can encourage our listeners to spread the word. So they sign up for a referral program. They share your podcast with their friends using a special link. The friends check out your podcast via that special link. And then each time they perform an action like subscribing to the podcast, your listener is given a reward. And you set that reward. So it might be a shout out in the show, a thank you. It might be that you get that the listener gets to ask you a question on air or whatever. Or it might be that you record a thank you message, like a video or a piece of audio, to thank the person for, bringing in, let's say, 5, 10 new listeners or whatever that number is. So this whole thing is, I'm going to talk about a particular service that exists that made me sort of think about this as a potential thing. This is not an ad for them. This is not an affiliate thing for them. I don't have any stake in the success of this program, and also I actually have some sort of bugbears with it. But it really did make me think, sort of back in November, whenever it was, that actually this is an interesting avenue for us to investigate. So Refer-o-Matic is a side project of Glow.fm, which are one of these. There's a few of these now, services that are sort of Patreon, but just for podcasters type thing. So it's a memberful, pod.fan, all these kind of services that exist to help you get more revenue out of your listener base. So that you can check out the service at refer-o-matic.fm. It's very much in private beta at the moment, and so you've got to be on a wait list, but I've got access and I can show you how it all works. So you with this you get a page that you link to from your show notes. So I'll walk you through that page in a bit, but it's a nice short URL actually. It's quite nice, and then each episode has its own unique link that you can share. So you can if you really wanted to be militant about it, then when you're sharing your episode or encouraging other people to share your episode, instead of sharing the episode on your website, which, to be honest, you should always do, really, but maybe once or twice, you could share this refer.fm link. And the idea behind that is that when people take action based on that link, then you get a reward. Now, you would be the listener. I know it's getting a little bit, sort of convoluted now, but I will try and sort of make it all make sense and pull it apart. So listener A, let's say, to your show shares that special episode link. Maybe that, like I said, that episode link could be in the show notes, or you might just ask people on social media, hey, please share my episode using this link. So listener A shares that link, and they sign up to track the process. So listener A is now your affiliate. Listener A is marketing your podcast for you, right? That's the idea. So listener A is this person who likes your show already. They are a committed fan of your podcast, and they want to get some rewards by sharing your podcast. And what they now have is they can have a special website where anytime there's a new episode, they get a special link that they can share with their friends. So one of their friends is listener B, let's for example. So they're new to the podcast, they haven't yet listened. So this is one of their friends. They see that link, on Facebook, on Twitter, or whatever, and they think, oh, that does sound like a good podcast. I want to check that out. Listener B clicks that link. They then maybe preview an episode and or subscribe to the podcast. When they subscribe to the podcast, listener A gets a little notification. They get a ding to say, hey, you wanted, let's say 5 people to do a thing, or that's part of the reward. If you refer 5 people, if you refer 5 friends, you get this reward. So listener A, your affiliate, your super listener who's a big fan, they get a notification saying, hey, listener A, your mate has just subscribed to the podcast. Well done. If you do that 4 more times, you get a banana. You get a treat. So that's the idea. It's, if I'm not explaining it well, it will make more sense in a tick. So listener A is then rewarded for listener B taking action. That's the idea. So 20,000 Hertz are already giving this a go. Their plan is that if you, as a listener, refer 10 friends, you can either get an ad-free feed of the show, which is pretty impressive. That's a pretty good deal, I think. Or you get 50% off any item in their store. That's not a bad thing. And then if you refer 20 friends, you get both. I find that an interesting model, really. Because I think, 10 people, referring 10 listeners, you then, as a reward, you get to listen to the podcast ad-free. I think that's interesting. So List Envy is signed up for this as of, I've been in the system for a while, but it actually went live today. So refer.fm/listenv, this is a real address that you can actually go to now. And the scheme that I'm running so far to give it a test is refer 5 friends, and then I'll record a video of me building a top 5 list on a topic that you choose. Now, at the moment, I might have to figure out how to contact affiliates. I assume, I don't know yet, that I will know the name and email address of people who've signed up as affiliates. So I can email them and say, hey, you referred 5 friends. What would you like me to record a video of, top 5 apple varieties? And I will record my top 5 apple variety video as a thank you. So let's take a quick walk through and I'll show you how this actually works, and it'll start to make a little bit more sense. So I'm going to open up an incognito browser window just so that we can sort of see this process from the beginning. So I am an avid listener to List Envy. I absolutely bloody love List Envy. It's my favourite podcast, and I want to get a video from Mark. So I'm going to share that link to all my friends. So I'm going to sign up as an affiliate. And there we go. Right. So I'm all signed up. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to write a tweet and I'm going to share the latest episode of this podcast that I love with my friends and my followers. I've written here, check out my podcast, but that's unhelpful. This is someone else's podcast, obviously, because I'm a listener to this podcast. But you get the idea, right? So I post that, and then after a second, there we go, we get a nice big image. So that tweet is sent. Now we are viewing the page as someone who's clicked that link. So I'm a friend of this A. Mark Steadman person, and I like the sound of this podcast, so I'm going to go and subscribe. So I am listener B now. I've subscribed to the podcast, and that's a little bit clunky in the Apple Podcasts app, but there you go. I am subscribed to the podcast, and now back as Mark, who is the listener A, I can now see, hey, someone just signed up, someone just subscribed to the podcast, and there you go. So that is kind of the idea. I hope that sort of makes some kind of sense. So before we crack on, I will ask you if there are any questions. So let's have a look. So is it possible for me to get a copy of the presentation? Yeah, no worries, Marla. I will. In fact, the way it works is there'll be a video online, but you'll also be able to come back to this. Yes, as Brendan has said, it'll be posted to YouTube. And yeah, I'm with you, Brendan. I think an ad-free feed of 20k. I think that's really cool. So yeah, I thank you for your thoughts. So yeah. All right. Well, with that in mind, let us crack back on with some questions around this, and then we will have ourselves a nice little break. All right. So, back to it then. Oh no, right, there we go. So here are some thoughts and some caveats around the service. Their pricing is bonkers. I personally think their pricing is so... They haven't revealed publicly, so I won't reveal their price because, you know, that's for them to do. But I did say to them, and I'm sure I'm not the only one, that I think it's very difficult for them to justify the price because it's more than the cost of most podcast hosting providers, which I think is silly. Not necessarily because, you know, I am one of those people, but I do think it's silly. And so I had that conversation with them. And so full disclosure, they've given this to me. Not because I promised them anything. I didn't say that I was going to review it. I didn't say that I was a big deal or anything, because I'm not. But they did offer me a discount to check out the service, and so that's sort of why I'm running with it. So bear that in mind. I do urge you to give it a go. Get on the waiting list. I think it is worth a look. I genuinely do. And depending on how much money you're willing to spend on a program like this, you know, for something like 20,000 Hertz, which is bringing in advertising money already, which already has that bit of an income stream, the amount for them is negligible. But if you're a hobby podcaster, it is not negligible, and so I think it's worth bearing that in mind. But I do think it's worth looking into, because I think there's something there. You know, it's very, very early stages though. It is an unproven piece of tech. That said, they make the pages look nice. They actually work with you on getting your brand right. You know, you fill in I think you actually just email them with like your logo and a background image and colours and things like that, and they set it up for you. And I think, as you've seen, I think it looks quite nice. But I do wonder whether there is a tech solution that perhaps content management systems or hosting providers can build in that might not eat their lunch, because I wouldn't want to do that, but to maybe cut out some sort of middleman. I don't know yet. I was thinking, is there some way where everyone gets a special dynamic link in the RSS feed, and there's some... I think the system they've come up with is quite nice, because the way it works is... we'll talk about that in a tick, but the way it works is... from what I could gather, having dug around sort of under the bonnet, as we Brits say, the affiliate rewards kick in when certain actions are taken place on the page. So when you that subscribe button, before any of those, you know, the Google, Spotify, or Apple Podcasts buttons that you saw, before anything happens, before you actually get taken to that service, your action is logged within Refer-o-Matic, so it knows, hey, this person actually did a thing. So you don't just get rewards for visiting the page, you have to subscribe. Your listeners have to subscribe to your podcast in order to get the reward, and they have to subscribe using that page, which I think is fine. I think there are potentially some issues there. We have to look at what this means for if you don't use one of those 3 podcast apps, and that will be something that I'll raise with them, because, you know, I use Castro. Lots of people use Overcast. Lots of people use, you know, Pocket Casts and Podcast Addict and all these different apps. So they are going to need a mechanism where that can work. And I think that there probably is one. There probably is a way that can be done. But it is something to bear in mind. It is only going to work for people who are using Apple Podcasts, Google, or Spotify at the moment. And then this last point is, I think you're going to need not a significant number necessarily, but I do think you need a base. And I think probably 100 listeners is the base, because I tend to find with action like this, you're maybe getting sort of 1% to 2% that will actually take action on this thing. So in order for it to grow, I think you do need to get to a base number. But if you're struggling getting to that base number, then once you've joined us in Origins in our community, then I'm happy to have conversations with you there to see if there's things that we can do to help. Because, you know, 100 is a nice base to grow from, and then, you know, you want to get to 1,000 and the rest. But I think for a system like this, I think you probably want to be looking at least 100 listeners for this to sort of start to take off. But the idea, you know, a little bit of virality it could work. I think it could be interesting. So there you go. I'd love to know if you've got any questions, any thoughts related to this. Then we can investigate those. So let's have another quick look at the at the chat here. Thank you, Candy. And Chris says that the price is what he booked at as well, and yeah, I think. I think so. And Candy, like, you've signed up for Refer-o-Matic. I'd love you to let us know what you find. It'll be interesting to see, because I'm going to give it a go with List Envy. That's going to be the idea. I am going to sort of try and give it a whirl and see how it works with future episodes. I really don't know. This is why we do these. It's absolutely an experiment. My hypothesis, which sort of jumped, the slide jumped towards the end there, but my hypothesis is maybe we can up our listeners by 5%, which is a really, really small number. But I think because this is unproven tech, then that's possibly what we can expect. But I think there is that lovely idea of exponential growth because it's an affiliate system, because it's they tell two friends and they tell two friends, and that whole lovely idea. Then there is scope for this to be a little bit exponential, but it's going to need that initial seeding, I think, and that is so much where that is in so much where where the challenge lies with new podcasts, with niche podcasts, is getting to that sort of network effect moment, and so we shall see. But I'm broadly excited to see how it works. So with that in mind, then let's close up. Here are we? So yeah, I said it was going to be a shorter one. Last time I think was a full hour, and we don't need to go too long with this. But I will spend a little bit of time hanging out towards the end. But if you do want to get in touch, if anything here has sparked your interest, then feel free to say hello. Podiant XP, podiant.co/XP is where you will find previous events. So you can actually watch the December 2020 event, and then if you want to get in touch on Twitter, Podiant HQ or A Mark Stedman, those are my handles, and you can email me, mark@podiant.co. So that is it, and again, Refer-o-Matic.fm, or if you want a simpler address, refer.fm, I believe, to check out Refer-o-Matic. Let me know what you think. That's just about it. So I think last time I'd done quit the stream too early, and something weird happened, and we lost the last minute and a half of video. So I'm not going to do that for a bit. But Chris asks, I know for indie podcasters, it's hard to get a very responsive / engaged audience. Ain't that the truth? Filling our surveys, emailing you, etc. Any suggestions for coming up with incentives without feedback from your audience? Any suggestions for coming up with incentives without feedback from your audience? That's a really interesting question. I think you've got to try and figure out what would be fun for your listener to receive as a result. So it comes back to, so much of this for me comes back to the fundamental question of this thing I call the listener story. So it's, I make my podcast for X audience so that they can benefit. So once you've got a handle on who you're making the podcast for and how they benefit, are they listening because they know you and they like you? Or are they listening because they want some knowledge that you can discern or something? So if it's about them knowing you and liking you, which to a degree is sort of the gamble that I'm playing with List Envy, because it's a fairly general show, or each episode is very, very different in topic. I'm banking on people sort of, coming for a guest and then staying for the mark. That's kind of the idea, which is the case for a lot of us, I think. So for me, it was trying to think of a fun reward that might be, someone might get a kick, it might get a giggle out of me trying to come up with my, top 5 musical notes, or whatever it is. It's not because I think that someone is going to cherish a video from me or that I should be on Cameo, but it's more that I think someone might get a giggle from me trying to figure out what my top favourite whoopee cushions are. I could do this for days. So you've got to figure out, I think, what's going to be a little bit of delight that your listener can get as a result. So if I've understood your question correctly, Chris, you're trying to sort of figure out how to how to pick a reward if you're not getting a lot of feedback from your listeners. And so I think you've just got to try and put yourself in the position of a listener and think what would be a little bit delightful. I think that's the idea. What would delight you based on why they're there in the first place. If it is based on the knowledge that you consume, the knowledge that you can provide, maybe it is a specific knowledge-based podcast, then in something like that, you might have an ebook to hand. You might have written an ebook that might normally be in what they call a lead magnet, where you have to fill in a form. Maybe you send this ebook to them, and it doesn't have to be knowledge based. You could have a film review podcast, and you might have written loads of film reviews, or you might have access. You might have an account on what's the website, Letterboxd, where you might invite people in to follow you on Letterboxd if they bring in so many listeners. Kind of an idea like that. So I hope that sort of helps to answer that question. Good question. Something themed to your podcast will be fun. I think that's a good question. So if there is anything else, then do pop a note or pop a line in the chat, or drop a little question in, and I hope that I've answered that one. And I think that will about do it. And thank you, Chris. Good. All right, lovely. Well, this has been fun. I've enjoyed this. A little bit more relaxed, as you can probably tell, if you were here for the December one. So this is. If we're going to get into a monthly swing of it, then we may as well have fun and enjoy it. I don't know what the next experiment is going to be. If you've got any ideas, then let me know. As I said, if you were here in the live stream, then you'll get an email from me in the next day or two inviting you to join our online community. Again, it's free. There's no big sales pitch. It's just about curating a set of people who are really into taking this podcast journey, learning from each other, figuring out ways that we can make better podcasts. Not just about finding new listeners, but about how we can make something that is worthy of those listeners. That's my big thing, my big mission. Yes, I've got the protect and advance the oral tradition, but the sort of submission to that is helping people make really good podcasts. Not just, there's lots of this growth orientated business, and that's fine, but really it's about the content. It's about what you make, and Origins is partially or really mainly about helping people figure out how they can make better stuff. So you'll get an invite. Thank you so much for joining me. This has been really fun. Good question. Buy Me a Coffee is lovely. I've used that. I don't know if I've had any success podcast-wise, but I've used, coffee is another one. I've used them for things before, and I do think they're great. I think I worked with a chap who built coffee, and we had an early integration with them back in the day, and we sort of parted ways, not out of any animosity. We just went in slightly different directions. But I think we do still have a coffee integration with the Podiant service, and it is like those things I think are really great because it's super no pressure or low pressure. If you like the show, tip me a few bucks, and I think that's great. I think Evo Terra, who does the podcast Pontifications show, that's the model that works for him, and I think there is a lot of value to it. So, right, I am going to bid you adieu, and thank you for your time, and we will do this again very, very soon. So I'm hoping that when I tell you what we'll do, because I know that it terminated early last time, I'm going to sort of fade us to black so that you don't miss the last couple of minutes. Because, I do want to sincerely thank you for spending the time with me today, and I'll look forward to speaking to you again very soon.